Snow.
Good morning, everyone. Let's go ahead and get this meeting called to order. Ursula, may we have a roll call, please?
Greg Privet,
Here.
Ursula Parker here, Eric Segovia, Eldon Merrick,
Here.
Thomas DeWitt. Oh, okay.
All right. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes from the previous meeting?
This wasn't the work group, it was the previous water meeting, correct?
Yes.
Yes. I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
We need to vote on that one. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, staff reports and updates.
Messaged him, he just got caught up.
That's fine.
Thomas,
Well, we'll try to. We don't have anyone to brief us on any of this just yet.
Well, I've got the pilot well instrumentation piece and I've got satellite-based leak detection service.
It's fantastic. Let's skip ahead to that, please. Thank you, sir.
Okay, cool. So pilot well instrumentation, the 3 wells that we're talking about, that pilot program initially started out at 3 or 1 and then decided to go with 3. The legal review is back. The legal review went back to the RCEC is going to help set those up initially for a 6-month program. So our contracted legal looked at it and then sent it back to their so they played a little bit of legal ping pong. That things were resolved, we're good to go. So the way to move forward on this is we're ready. The city's ready and has the money. It's about $16,000 per well. We're gonna buy the equipment. And when the equipment comes in, we're gonna turn it over to the city water team and partially to the RCEC water team to go outfit those wells, set those up so our folks can start to do some analysis on how it works with those 3, do some comparative analysis between the SCADA enhanced wells and the analog wells, and then do some comparative analysis between the 3 SCADA wells. Now, I was asked by a contractor from Core & Main the other day. They said, they said, well, if you're not going with a particular vendor, i.e. RCEC, why are you doing 3 wells? I said, listen, this is my prerogative. I don't have to answer you, but I'm going to. Not only do I want to see a SCADA well set up, I want to be able to compare SCADA enhanced wells against each other. So I can see how one works and one doesn't. If there's variations in tuning a well by proxy with the supervisory controlled analytics and data acquisition, and I want to be able to compare in mass, i.e. 3, a group of 3 compared to analog wells. So that was my prerogative. So bottom line is legal reviews are back. We're prepared to start buying the equipment. We'll buy it from the GSA approved vendors, i.e. the state purchasing approved vendors. We'll buy it, get it on hand, and then start to put those in place. So that's in motion. That's happening. Any questions on that?
Time frame, roughly?
I don't know.
Best guess, good.
Speed of purchasing.
Got it.
Yeah, should be fairly. I'll let you know more, but like I don't really know if these things are like off the shelf or they have to order them. So when you're getting the pieces, but we're ready to start ordering those pieces. On the satellite-based leak detection service, engineers from Core & Main said that they have a technology that teamed up with a literally satellite service to where they have 70 to 80% efficacy on identifying leaks in general within a 500-meter radius. So they use this in residential, commercial, farming type, commercial, residential, and what's the
Agriculture.
agriculture, but industrial. So industrial type applications. So that Core & Main is touching base with us, we're gonna give them GIS data, maps of the well field, the lines from Blackwater, 6.2 miles into the city, et cetera, et cetera. And they're gonna develop what they see as capabilities. And I told them to move forward on it. The price for this is about $8,000 a year. And what they do is every 2 weeks, a satellite comes over based on our requirements. The satellite will shoot pictures of presumed leak areas, and then the difference is every 2 weeks. I said, listen, it's $8,000 a year if you have an 80% efficiency rate, and you can cover the entire span of the city, then we'll take a look at it. So we're getting them the GIS data and all their data and analytical points that they need to do that. They'll give us feedback, and then we'll move forward with it. At $8,000, we'll just pay them and start to see what kind of feedback we get. So $8K a year, 2 shots per month, 24 shots, and then send you the assumed leak positions if they can find them.
So are they doing this off of some kind of saturation in an area, or?
I'll know more about that later. Technology started guys working for a university doing this kind of stuff. So Finding Water University, he's a water guy and satellite guy. He started a company. He was working for a company that had about a 30% efficiency rate, and then he backed out of that, kind of fine-tuned some stuff. I mean, this is all when an engineer's telling you this, so it's rough order of magnitude stuff. So right now we have no commitments, but we're narrowing it down with information. And if it starts to look like a decent deal, and it can help us ahead of time, because I gotta be honest with you, there's not a whole lot of ways to tell if we have leaks other than looking at the ground and seeing greener grass or a wet spot.
Right.
Okay. So if we can find some technologies that are this affordable, they allow us to find the leaks that are going sideways or down, and we recover that water, then that goes a long way towards the financial aspects of water management, as well as just water management itself. So we will continue to move forward with this until it looks like BS, but if it doesn't look like BS for that price, we'll move forward.
Do you suppose that's something that the city and the water co-op could partner? Okay, that'd be something I'd really be interested. Yes.
I'll point to. Honestly, I want to know if my sewage is leaking. I want to know if my drinking water is leaking. I want to know if my wells are leaking. So I don't think a satellite's going to discriminate between like county water, city water, sewer water, whatever. Let's just take an objective look at this for the price and see if it looks like a thing. If it's something we'll move forward.
Absolutely.
That just made me curious because, I mean, we've got a leak that we've been monitoring for quite a while over on First Street. Kind of in there around F, I think. And it just kind of seeps up around the crack for a little while. Sometimes it'll kind of get out into the street a little bit, but it hasn't gotten worse. And how it picks up that kind of stuff, I was just curious.
I don't know much about it right now. I know things like $8,000 satellites, 80% efficiency. Get the data points, and they'll give us some more feedback on what they can do. So there'll be more about this coming soon.
Okay.
That's about all I have.
Fantastic.
Will they be making a presentation to you or to this committee or to council?
I think that they'll make a presentation to me, and then if either the council or committee, would like a presentation, then we'll do that. So that's easy. We're right now working.
Discovery.
Yeah, they'll get the stuff together and give us things to work to see what they can possibly do before we get that. So Pat, we're on staff reports and updates. I did Charlie and Delta. If you want to take out and Bravo.
Okay, apologize for being late.
No, it's all right. Thank you. So do I.
We did have the working group and all that, and we did get tasked with, Windows went back to go look at the plan itself. What he came back with is, he says, for right now, what you have in place is probably the best way to go about.
Okay, I'll need a little clarification on that.
For-
The one we presented to you, or the one that's actually on the books as the
The
water?
one that we passed out the handout to, remember? At the
Yes.
working group? And the only change he had was, remind me, because on the side is not per.
Well, we passed two plans that there. One was the one we had generated here, and then the one that you would come up with.
Not the one I saw, but the one that you had in place, the one that's currently in place that we use the tanks. Tank levels, he says until we actually get better data with better meters, we probably cannot actually move forward with the plan, and I think that's what we all thought.
That was kind of the consensus.
Yeah.
Okay.
So as far as that goes, I think with your plan y'all have in place, if we continue using that, that'd probably be the best for right now until we can get those meters in place.
So now just to clarify, not the plan that's actually in place, but the one that we brought forward to begin with. So then we'll have to approve it to send it to council. Is that right, Mike?
We're talking about three things.
Oh, that's what I'm trying to clarify.
Place called stage two modified. This committee has brought forth a new proposal and then you put out a proposal. So are you talking about the one that this committee brought forth or the one that the city already has sitting in existence?
I'm talking probably about the one the city has, well, we just use the tanks.
Yeah.
And two of those plans.
Two of those,
Tanks.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
So,
are you talking about the one that you looked at the working group meetings? So that's the one that's proposed. That's not the one that's in place.
the one that I put in there, that's not gonna be able to. It wasn't even a proposal, it was just kind of like.
In addition,
With that direction, so that's why I kind of got confused, you know, it's really a proposal, it was just some thoughts that I had in the future, but.
yeah, the one that Chris took at the working group meeting is the one that we have brought forth that we've all looked at. It's not the one that's in place. So do we need to bring that back then, maybe the next time and approve that to send it to council? Or can we approve it without having it in front of us?
I think everybody ought to be pretty familiar with it. I do think that, one suggestion was made where we had, kind of set aside an area to do flows, the supply demand. And then the suggestion was made to one of two things, either leave that in there and gray it out as a placeholder and not have factual numbers, or to just eliminate it for now. As to not confuse anybody. So that might be something that needs to be decided today.
I still think graying it out lets us and everybody else know that this is what we're working towards, but it's not in place yet. But this is, that way they've got an idea of what we're looking at, that this is the projection, so that whenever it does happen, you know, they're not just saying, oh, we're changing it all again. It's already there, it's grayed out, it's a temporary placeholder, and then we move forward.
So by graying it out, are you saying where that you can still see what's written or completely obliterating it? Because
you
if you
can-
leave it in there, people are gonna think, well, they're highlighting this and this is what.
Well, then when we put a disclaimer or whatever you want to call it across the bottom saying that the grayed out figure is not in place yet, but it's a proposed process. Yeah,
I would not put it in there without the disclaimer.
absolutely.
You gotta
Yeah.
tell them this hasn't been implemented yet.
Okay, so right now we're on staff reports and that's coming up in discussion act of mine. Let's go ahead and finish out the staff reports and then we'll go ahead and we'll go right back into this as soon as we get to the discussion items.
Okay.
What else do you have for us?
Staff report's easy, no changes in staff, no hires, nobody left, so we're still at full positions. We just got a new round of applicants, so hopefully we'll get some people hired in the next 2 weeks.
That's for open.
Yes.
Okay.
You got extra people.
No, I do not. Stay away from my people.
Go ahead, Hunt.
Oh,
All right, so let's move into discussion and action items so we can talk about the drought contingency plan now. Okay, so let's just continue on that conversation. So what I'm hearing is we're going to go ahead, the one that we've been talking about and discussing, not this still deals with the water tank levels, which is a point of contention with everyone here. And it has been for a while because it's not a good metric to work with, but it's what we have for now. So I'm going to try to clean this up a little bit. One of the things we have problems with, let's see if I can bring this up here, is the tank levels. We had discussed ad nauseum about what I'm showing on mine is the advisory level 1 is below 25 feet, 23 feet, 20 feet, 18 feet. Were those numbers needing to be adjusted? Because I think we were all in agreement that was still too high and there was not enough turnaround time between hitting that action number and then when it would go off, how many hours or how many days. I think that's one of the things we'd need to clean up on that. And then the graying out or just removing in some way of addressing that. And I think those are the main 2 items that I had with it. Did anyone else see anything different than that?
Well, I wasn't at the working group, but what you just said was one of the things I've had an issue with is that the way it was written, we were just bouncing in and out of stages. It had to have some kind of a time frame in there built in that if it didn't recover in a certain amount of time, then it would go into another stage, or if it recovered, then it stayed where it was, or you know, because you could just see that in a day's time or 2 days' time, going from being in a critical stage to being full again. And I mean, you're bouncing in and out. Nobody could ever keep track of it. So you gotta have some kind of a buffer in there to take that out.
Shock.
Didn't the second one not the original one we looked at, but the second one, didn't it have something in there that gave a bit of a buffer?
There is a clause in there that deals with the.
That's what I thought.
On the yo-yo effect.
Yeah.
It essentially compresses it to where it has to either up or down has to be in that trend for X number of hours before the determination is made based on that condition.
Unless it's severely diminishing rapidly,
Well,
and then you can make that call.
Absolutely.
You guys make that call out.
The downward trend has a much quicker reaction
Right.
time than the upward trend.
Right.
So
So what if we bring it back at the next meeting with the grayed out, with the disclaimer, with all the things that we're talking about today, and then make a decision on whether to move it forward to council?
There's one thing I want to throw out here, and one thing I have a couple others that attached to it. So as part of the well field, SCADA, whatnot, the original SCADA scope of work that I wrote had sensors and RF transmitters, etc. But also it called for a volumetric device that would take laser levels of the 2-3 million gallon tanks at Johnson Hill. When we sent Mr. Mudgett out from RCEC to review their current state, we dropped the volumetric measurement from the statement of work because we have sensors in there now that are real time. It appears that our own teams either didn't really know how to maximize that or use it or collect data efficiently. So I think that that's worth a look, not to prolong this, but we might be able to collect data that accurately measures that latency period from utilization of water to refill of water and so on. That might have something to do. It might help with a drought contingency plan. Are you following what I'm saying?
it's conceivable that this system could automate itself as far as trigger levels and remove the human emotion and bias from the decision.
And we can also know what a low level means. Right?
Better accuracy.
Because if I see a low level, that's kind of scary. But if I see 6 months of, not that I'm not proposing waiting 6 months, but if I see several months of data that develops trends, I know that this level at 3 o'clock in the afternoon is just that level at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, but 9 o'clock at night, I know based on several data points that it really means this, you know. So we have not been doing that, is my understanding, because we didn't know as a team how to use it or didn't, whatever, but we're getting after that, I believe.
If we've got that capability, I think we need to use it.
Absolutely.
You go to a mechanical float system like what we've got, it's prone to getting hung up on a pulley or a pulley freezing up, and then it doesn't move until it's, you know,
Physically
becomes
adjusted.
released, and then it falls, and then all of a sudden you've got critical area. So if you can use those in conjunction with each other and see if they're correlating, then everything's a
I'm
lot
not
better.
proposing stalling, but let us get with Kendall Mudgett.
Right.
Ask specifically about getting that connected, so.
Well, we
Not that
know
it's
one
not
of the,
connected, getting it so
Thank you.
that we can do something with the information.
Right.
So the other thing too, that you touched on is the trigger levels. Foot wise, that you're wanting to implement. So that tank is at 30 foot. The gauge goes to 30 feet, but the water goes to 28 feet. And it becomes unusable at under 15 feet. So however many stage levels we have, we've only got 13 feet to divide up in order to establish triggers. So previously that was below 28, below 20, below 18, and then emergency below 15. There was talk about below 28.
The latest version I have is the moderate starts at 23 foot, severe at 20, extreme 18, emergency at 15. That's
Okay, so
the
you
latest
did
numbers.
adjust that. I've got it.
Okay, that's the latest I have and that's the ones I wanted, that's what I was bringing it up, that if we could agree upon these numbers, because that is something we've worked on where the moderate kicked in at 23 feet instead of 28. We dropped 5 feet and then we shortened the window to 20, 18, and then 15 is emergency. And
I
that was
think
the
there's
numbers
one
I
thing
had.
that in your statement there that we need to clarify. When it drops to 15 feet, it doesn't become unusable. It just drops to a point where you don't have enough pressure in the system for it to be actively used at that point, because it becomes stagnant. It still could be used and draw it out
Yeah,
if you were pumping.
Yeah, you could draw that water out,
Yes.
but I think for a couple of situations, one is EPA regulations.
Right.
And the other is the pressure.
It's got to maintain a certain amount of pressure in the system before it becomes an issue health wise.
I think Chris, I talked to him a couple of times and it was either 15 or 13, but I think it was 15 that at that foot level is when he loses that pressure that you're talking about, that allowable pressure.
Right.
So
So
at
could you go
15
back to
he's
the
almost
20 and rehash why that number was chosen.
I don't remember the specifics of it, but once again, we've had so many plans going and so many conversations going, they've become muddled, and I've just tried to narrow it down. But I think what we wanted to do, if I remember this correctly, is we knew 28 was too much because we didn't have a good read on that, where exactly what it was. So we just took 5 foot off of it because, like you said, we only have 13 feet to work with. So we brought it down. So the first one would start at 23. Severe starts at 20, extreme starts at 18, and emergency started at 15. And this is just some stuff that was just a consensus of numbers during conversations, and we were just trying to work out where we were. Like I say, the number of conversations we've had on this have been a lot, and I've kind of lost track of some of this stuff. That's why I'm making sure we're on the same page.
Just trying to lock into it because our first level is Motley. And so
Yeah, and that starts. I'll let you look off these notes here. Make it a little easier, maybe.
Yeah, this is just something to look back.
okay, so I think this is pinpointing what my concern is. You've got the tank fills up to 28 feet and you've got moderate at below 23 feet. What happens between 23 and 28? I mean, that is the stage level that's not identified now.
With that, and then our stage level would start at 23. Like I say, there's been so much talk about this and different ways of reading this. I'm just trying to, I was hoping to clear up one point on this today, and if we can get tank levels kind of straightened out, and then we'll go with Ursula's proposal, move it up. Oh, I'm gonna make you represent it too.
And if we have to talk about this, you know. Just in discussion, that's fine, but the thing that concerns me is. 28 feet is a tank level, and now it's not identified.
So, but isn't it I mean, we've all agreed that we need to start at moderate, right? I mean, we don't need to let everyone water every day, all of those things. So if it's at 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, you're at moderate, right? So why is I'm just not understanding why 23 is a problem.
Okay, because emergency, all of these have the identifier of below a certain footage. So we've got moderate starting at below 23 feet.
Take the below out.
Okay, we gotta say, we went below or above.
Well,
And if we say above, then that's literally what it was previously. You know, below 28 feet is moderate. Below 20 feet is severe. And below 18 feet is extreme, and below 15 feet is emergency. Now we've changed that to where moderate is below 23 feet by this document.
I've got some notes here, and I was thinking, going back to this, we did that. Ursula, correct me if I'm wrong, because moderate is where we're going to stay. And some of these older notes here, I said we had level 0 normal was 25 feet and above. And we eliminated the normal level because it was my understanding we were going to start at moderate because that's where we're at no matter what we do. And that's the thinking behind that. I'm just going back to some older notes here. And we had level 0 normal 25 feet and above. But I think we removed that. But I understand what you're seeing now because it is here in my older notes.
We've got to avoid.
Let's correct it. I mean, we just have to have a way of stating it in a way that.
So do we put it
28 feet is because there's an overflow at the 28-foot level?
Now, the 28 feet is as full as that tank goes. So we were defining these things by below this level.
It's a 30-foot tank, why doesn't it go to the top?
For that one's bad. That's what the guys told.
I'm gonna have to find that answer for you, but
I mean, you take 2 foot at the top of that tank, that's a lot
I
of
think-
capacity.
Yeah.
that's something.
Yeah, it's 100,000.
I think it
It's the
it
thing
has to
itself.
do the way the gauge works and everything that I think it's just,
28.
Yeah, is it the
Yeah.
gauge or is it the tank?
yeah.
Gauge goes to 30.
So if it's the cable gauge, then that's why we need that other sensor.
Exactly.
Correct.
And we need to start filling the tank to the full.
Sounds like we've got a lot of unanswered questions still.
I got another one for you.
That we need to get together back again pretty quickly.
I would think that there would be an overflow in the pitch of the roof. And not into the side of the tank, so.
I thought I saw one inside. I could be wrong.
So do we need to do 28 to 23 feet? Do we need to do a range as opposed to a below, or, I mean,
I can tell you the rooms.
okay,
Brought all this up. The water starts at 28 feet. So to me, somehow that has to be identified regardless of what you're gonna do with it. That is the stage level. So you have to have that top range. Originally, it was 28 to 23 feet was moderate. When you go below 23 feet, you enter into severe. Okay. So one of the things that Eric brought up is, and actually this goes for any stage level, but is that when that tank level starts going down, you're already behind the curve.
yep.
You've already got a problem. So we are limited by what even though the tank level is plan B, we're still limited by what this tank level is going to be telling us. It's almost identifying catastrophic situations for us. But we've got to have some type of measure for 28 to some level below that, whatever you want to establish. If you want to raise the second level up, in essence, what I'm saying is we adjusted the wrong level. So
Could we not simply call the, if we start at 25, the 3 feet above, or if we start at 23, what? Can we call it reserve? Reserve capacity.
we call it reserved, call it the new normal, whatever you want to,
You just need it termed.
just need a definition because
Okay, that
it's
gives
gonna
us
start
something.
declining, it's declining from 28 feet.
With the
Static
maximum is
capacity
28
or-
feet.
Right.
And we gotta also define, why is it declining? We've got to be able to, and this is where it's gonna go to the field, is what is it normally this time of the year, every year? And are we doing that fluctuation day and night, or has something happened? Is a well down? Is a pipe broke or something like that? That's gonna, I mean, when we start seeing these quick numbers dropping, we need to, of course, answer it quick.
I'm confused.
Me
Let me
too.
throw a couple things out here if you don't mind, that might confuse them. The tank goes to 28 feet, so I'm doing some research here. It won't go to 30 feet because it's a water industry standard. A 30-foot tank will generally go to 28 feet. Engineering, they call it freeboard and whatnot, so it's gonna go to 28 because they say this is what tank capacity is. You could take it to 30, it probably won't blow up, but that's what they certify for. 30-foot tank goes 28 feet, that's what I'm reading right here. One, if you use water at all, it's gonna go down.
Mhm.
I don't understand why we're in a moderate water phase. The well's shut off. There's something that triggers, when it goes 28 feet, the well stop, they're not gonna keep going. So they would pressurize the tank like a scuba tank.
Mhm.
I'm confused on some of these things. And I'm not an engineer. And I think that the mayor's saying there's something on a piece of paper here. I'm not an engineer, but I'm not, I feel like we're asking questions. Okay, what's the paper say? I'm confused.
No, the top moderate level could be solved by just removing the description. Moderate level, and it doesn't change until it goes below 20 feet, it becomes severe. So just by not even identifying the moderate level, obviously it would be anything above 20 feet would be considered moderate. That would maintain your
That's what I was.
stage levels.
Yeah, just
Did
take
you
all
make
the
this
other
up?
that they're
Did
at.
an engineer make this up, or
I
we
don't,
go into the book of Mormon and it made it up?
Yeah.
Originally what I did was took the 13 feet that we have to work with and divided by the stage levels that we're trying to work with. And that was an even increment. Eric thought it was reacting too late.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I'm not opposed to readdressing that at all. But we're kind of spinning our wheels here because we've been given more information that's gonna help us build a better plan
Maybe.
in time.
Yeah.
In time. This is something, this is all progress. We're all moving forwards on this, and just it's so incremental that to me it's personally frustrating because I'm not used to, I struggle with not being able to just do something. And that's a real struggle on my part. And I apologize if I seem a little short with people in some of this stuff. So,
I don't think that's not coming across.
okay, well, I feel that way internally. And I just want to make sure if
I
I'm making,
think
so I just need to know that this is
Somebody
kind
called
of,
you out on it.
you would. So
Well,
if we can all come in agreement on just redefining that, that would be great. Because that's one thing off our plate.
Cause I would still like to hear from somebody like Mr. Mudgett or something like that, like if I use 10 gallons isn't gonna be enough, but let's say I use some water, it does go down below 28 feet. Is there a latency period between reading? Does a well immediately trigger, like as soon as I start drawing, does a well trigger to refill? Or is there a latency period and they come on later?
our well field is completely different than anybody else's because we're pumping water from the ground into a pipeline and pushing that 7 or 8 miles into the tanks from the wells.
With no booster.
There's no booster.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, that's,
There's no buffer zone. There's no tank for it to fill up and then boost out of.
Mhm.
Like in a
So-
house where you would draw a well and it'd go in your.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so you've got,
Pressures, constant pressurization.
Yes.
Et cetera.
and I don't even know how our guys are doing this without the technology that it takes to do this, because you've got to have pressure switches set up on everything to be able to sense when the tank is full, shut wells off, but you're not completely shutting them all off. I bet you, and I don't know this for sure, but I'm just gonna bet that at least half of the wells stay on all the time. Just to hold that pressure in
That's right.
in the line to get it to the tanks.
Mhm.
And then as it's needed, they kick on other wells to bring that up and start filling again. So you're basically just sitting there pumping off of the pump at a head pressure.
Yeah, you're creating a constant pressure
Yes.
system that's not designed.
Because if you shut everything off, that all drains
Drains
back
back.
into the wells,
Mhm.
even though it's got, well, I mean, you got backflow preventers and things that kind of hold the water there, but it's not pressurized. And then you've got to kick it on, and you've got to, if you do it 2 or 3 wells, they're not going to produce enough pressure to push that water. So it's just sitting there stagnant until you get enough water going in that line to start moving it again. And that's the way our system is set up, and it's a poor system. It all should have been done with a big tank out there. The wells pumped to the tank, and then that is boosted into our other tanks. That gives you a buffer zone. And it doesn't create such a head pressure at each one of the wellheads.
Gotcha. Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
So, and the technology that we're missing is the fact that we're not able to read those. You have to actually drive around to each one of those wells to know what it's doing.
Absolutely.
And you can pull up to one and open the window and you go, yeah, the pump's running. But you don't know whether it's pushing water or whether it's just sitting there.
Or it's sitting there cavitating.
Yeah.
You don't know.
So that's been our main problem with our system the way it is. And I mean, we can sit here and talk tank levels, and I've said this before, we're really just spinning our wheels in the mud
Yep.
because we're not doing anything until we can get something out there at the wells that tells us what we're pumping, the gallons per minute, the pressure, all of that. And then you can put your spreadsheet together and you know, if we're drawing out this much, that's why you gotta have that meter on that tank, the side of the tank going to town. If you're drawing out this much, you gotta have this much coming in to maintain that. And then you keep these wells on because they'll create that.
And meanwhile, back at the ranch, we have 3 million gallons at Lime Street with Sand Hill, 4 wells.
Yes,
Mhm.
and that's reserve.
Yeah.
So, question to you, Mr. Merrick. Should we just pretty much just hold off on what we're doing and I mean, and not focus on it, but I mean, as far as creating a new plan, just to redo it again?
I like
Your
what,
thought?
I like what, um, I like what was presented with the fact that you had percentages of how many pumps were running to create this level. And if it didn't meet that, then, and that's really the only way that you can kind of keep track of what's going on other than the tank levels, because tank levels is reactionary.
Mhm.
It's almost too late once you see that it's dropped to a point that you've got to do something about it. So the part where you were tying in wells and how many are running and percentages, that was something that tied into it to where you knew what reserve you had. And if you were dropping at a certain rate and you almost had all your wells on, then it starts getting to be a critical issue. And if it continues to drop, then that's when you call it for the next stage. But I mean, you're trying to control that and set it up on tank levels is, you can be off a foot and make all the difference in the world. We're sitting here trying to do it off tank levels.
Absolutely.
So until we can get something out there in the, and that's why I was saying earlier, whenever this was brought up about putting these meters on there, we need to put them on our best wells to begin with. That way we know what's going on with those, because those are critical. You lose one of those and you may lose, 15% of your production. So you've got a lot of wells out there that are just producing 30 and 40 gallons, and then you've got some that are pumping over 100. So those are the ones you got to be critical to realize what's going on with them.
Majority of our water is produced by 10 wells.
Yeah.
So, and then the tank level deal being the equivalent of a check engine light. So the only time that it really comes into play is in the peak months when we have a 6 million gallon capacity and we can have a given day use 5 million gallons. Otherwise, we usually produce 3 million gallons a day and use 3 million gallons a day. So much of the year, we basically use per day what we produce per day.
Yeah.
So the tank level in those days declining does indicate a problem. And it could also indicate a critical problem that in the peak months, when we're using 5 million gallons a day, those tank levels are gonna go down for a while until the evening when that lets up a little bit, then they fill up, and the next day they start going down again, and that's just like the normal flow. But it could indicate, if it's going down a lot faster, it could indicate a more serious problem. But I do think until we can get accurate data, we're just.
Yeah.
And I think we're moving in the right direction. The SCADA system they're putting in on those that's going to be a big indicator of the health of the well field, how much we can pump. Even if it's just on 3 wells, we're going to gain a lot of knowledge. And I think once that pilot's done, I think expanding that program to the entire well field would be fantastic. And then we're still waiting on the 3 meters at the tanks. With those 2 items, then we would have something we could judge off pretty quickly. Is that the basics of it? So where do we need to go to get the meters at the tanks? Where are we at? What can we do to help? Where are we at? The SCADA, it's on the way, it's being done. What is something we can accomplish here? Where can we be of benefit to you?
I think those, the SCADA meter and all that should be coming up pretty quickly. I'm not sure if we got anything back from the.
Thanks, let's talk to Mr. Budget about
Okay.
how. He mentioned that's already there and it doesn't need replaced and it could tell us more data, so. We will get with Budget right away and get Chris Mendoza lined up with him. I think we've captured enough here on kind of what what kind of data could help us be confident in the late periods, replenishment, et cetera, that kind of thing. What could more data about the well tanks tell us? So let's talk to Chris and him about that.
We had some new meters that we were gonna put in on the city side of the tanks.
Yeah, that's
And we stayed in back order status for a long time. And then when they finally shipped them, they were the wrong size. They shipped them back and then we went back onto a back order status.
About the time they lost.
They lost them, yeah, they lost them first.
Yeah. So I don't know where we're even at on those, whether they've ever gotten in or whether they just gave up on them or.
And what information if they did get them in and started using them? That information.
Okay, so we
would be
need to
great.
figure something out. I mean,
Yeah.
We need to figure something out on some tank meters. And let's see if we even need them or whatever, but okay.
I would just monitor the flow from the tanks to the city on a continual basis. That's what those meters were for.
Okay, so you need an
So-
inline flow meter from the tanks.
From the tanks, and there was a
Okay,
place
that's
to put 'em
different.
in.
All right.
And it's been worked on back and forth, and I'm getting caught up on it now.
That's
But
basically
with
what-
those in conjunction with the new tank level readings, if we can make that work, plus the SCADA system going into the well field, then we have something that we can balance on an hourly basis, not a daily reactionary basis. We'll be able to monitor the flows continually at that point.
I'm gonna add one thing to that since y'all are talking about it. If I'm gonna put inline flow meters, which sounds like I'm going to. At the end of the line, I want a flow meter. Let me tell you why. I suspect between 6.2 miles of that line, that 20 or 24, 40 inch line, that there are breaks, cracks, fissures, etc.
Are you talking about before the tanks? And
We
after the
talk
well
about
field or
tank to the city.
tank to the
Talking,
city?
you got 6.2 miles of line. Nobody can guarantee me there's not breaks in there. So you see what I'm saying?
Yes,
There has
I
been
do
in the
now.
past.
I want to be
Especially
able to
along the
measure.
railroad, right?
So it won't, I can't imagine it costing much, but it's gonna cost a lot, but in terms of this kind of stuff. So we wanna measure what starts at Johnson Hill and what ends up at the distribution lines in the city, right? I wanna know that what the wells are pumping, going in the tank, coming out of the tank and reaching the city are the same or different. Now we have to start to figure some stuff out. Just knowing what comes out of the tanks is not necessarily good enough data to know what's getting in the distribution lines. You follow me?
Yes, that
Yep.
makes perfect sense.
So.
I've
I'm not
got
gonna hold
a,
it up. Not gonna hold, we'll do one and then the other, but you gotta have both to make any kind of sense.
far as from the well field to Johnson tanks. I've got a drone that I would volunteer to go out and fly over that. Just so that we could see, because right now would be a good time. You'd
See
have a
what's
spot
green.
greening up.
Yeah.
If you had a leak out there in that line.
We've had no leaks out there.
Oh, yeah. The flight crews that go across. They were pointing them out.
Water's spewing up in the air out here.
In the past.
Yes, in the past.
Yeah.
I'll probably definitely take you up on the offer, for the drone.
Yeah.
In fact, I actually put in for this budget year to get a drone program for our water.
Yeah.
Be able to check tanks, everything, lines, stuff like that, so. I'll give it to you on it.
Yep.
All right. Can we have another working group? Because we've got some new information with.
Yes.
Do you have time? But just let us know.
Yes, we just need to put it into the calendar or else I won't do it.
Okay, you've got your calendar out. Let's just
I
do
got
that
it-
right now.
I got it out right now, so next week or this week?
I'm
Next week.
It'll be next week because I'm gonna be gone the rest of this week, basically.
Next week?
Yep.
Tell me what day you guys are good. 21st is good for me,
I'm good.
23rd. 21st, 23rd, you one of those?
21st is good here. 23rd is good. Pick
What time?
what time? What day? We're good.
23rd.
23rd?
23rd,
23rd.
21st doesn't work.
Oh, 21st will work, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah,
21st. What time did we go this last time? Was that good?
works for me.
Let's
I don't remember what time. It worked for me, but I don't remember what time it was.
Let's just do, what, 9 o'clock, is that good?
Okay.
Where are you gonna,
We'll meet at, do we have to, is the conference room open?
conference room's open.
9,
Yeah,
21st?
I can put it on there.
Yep, if you could.
Yeah.
City Hall.
City Hall.
City Hall.
There is a training going on here. At 9 to 12 on the 23rd. Active shooter training for city personnel.
Over here.
Yeah, that's here.
We're talking about the 21st, right?
Oh, they're gonna do it at City Hall?
You're gonna do it at City Hall.
Yeah, we're done.
But I
It's
didn't
the
know.
working groups, I don't record.
Okay, 21st.
It's on 21st. Okay, 9 a.m. It's
Yeah. No, how about the City Hall?
City Hall's available.
Let's do City Hall.
I'll put it on there. Do you want me to send a calendar item or? if you-
Yeah, if you could, please.
Please.
And if you could add,
Good.
Duran and Mendoza.
Sure.
That'd be great.
That'd be fantastic. Okay. Do we have an update on the water rate study and analysis?
Not specifically, we know water rates and starting the water rates immediately as of 1 May. That was briefed to city council in the last city council meeting. So the concept is to stop the bleeding, so you know, as a group on water rates, which is pretty much a financial issue as opposed to, you know, a water advisory committee issue. But the tune is about 1,36,000, so it's not 1.36, but $1,036,000 upside down operating costs as we stand right now, by not recovering the funds that were basically voted into from 23 to 24, 24 to 25, 25 to 26. So we're at the point where it's costing about $5,000 a calendar day to not enact those rates, which is directly correlated to all the things we cannot do in the city. Most things we cannot do in the city because we have to use other funds to cover those $5,000 a calendar day gap. So we've run the numbers over and over. We will implement the rates to where they should have been starting 1 May, assuming that if we picked up and enacted all the incremental increases over the years where they would be. But so people know the baseline effect for the lowest level rate on water, sewer, and trash, which everybody's going to be affected by. So the minimum effect to anybody, the aggregated, so the group cost for all three utilities is about $15.71 per household minimum. So we're talking about, now this is rough order of magnitude, about $5 for water, $5 for sewer, and $5 for trash. It's a little bit variance in our trash, a little more expensive, etc. But that's kind of the update. So that will go into the current rates that were voted in 22 and acted in 23. These aren't catch up. This is just starting where we would have been. And then moving forward, we will hire at least one independent outside agency to do an audit of all things utilities. At least one agency, maybe more, at the same time, to give us a real-time feedback on what utility rates should be across the board for enterprise funds, including water, utility, and trash. Then once those feedback sets are back, that will be presented, and those agencies will present to council their findings. So minimum of one. I'm kind of looking at the possibility of 3 independent engineering firms that'll look at all things, and then they will brief in turn, if I have it my way, council what their recommendations are. Having said that, sat in an agency that uses billing rates, etc. for utility, listened intently and audited an outside engineering firm and how they came up with billing rates, etc. For another agency and so on. And that's absolutely 100% unequivocally the correct way forward for a municipality to determine rates. That's the update.
Thank you.
Subject to questions.
All right, anything else? Any items for the next agenda that we need to put on there other than
We'll have
the
some
perennial
feedback.
favorites?
Yeah, we'll have some feedback for you on the tank meters and the volumetric meters for the tanks themselves. So the flow meters will get you an update on where we are with that, what we find, and the volume meters and how we can use that to better assess where we are with the tank. And I'll get you some engineering specs on why you can't fill a 30-gallon or 30-foot tank to 30 feet and stop it at 28 feet. And that's not tongue in cheek. I mean, if we're going to talk about it, we need to know why we do it.
Right.
And we do have a town hall tomorrow night at 8 p.m.
Yeah, we do. It should be fun. So town hall tomorrow night. I mean, if we're being honest, I mean, a lot of chatters died down and stuff like that. We'll see how many people show up. Maybe it'll be a full house, maybe it won't.
People will be rushing to get their taxes mailed. So they might not have time to come.
You know, we could have went all day without you saying taxes. Thank you. I
That
appreciate
wasn't by
that.
design. Yeah, thanks for that.
It's on my agenda today.
Can I censure him? I mean, this is ridiculous here. All right. If there's nothing else, let's go.
Next meeting date.
Oh, thank
Next
you.
meeting
I do that
date.
every time. Thank you again.
The May 12th.
Oh,
What's up?
that's just a little tough for me. That's our annual meeting that night,
That's-
but
That's a bad day.
They don't want to hear about competition.
We can shift it to May 11th, that Monday.
That work for everybody?
Or we could go all the way down to, well, May 26th, that's graduation, we're in the graduation season.
Yeah, yeah.
Better take the-
Welcome to
better
May.
take the 11th.
Welcome
Let's
to
take
my
the
life
11th.
when I'm trying to find someplace to have it.
So we could do May 11th, or we could shift to, May 14th.
I think we moved it off of Mondays because that was so tough for
Everybody?
It's Mondays.
y'all coming back and trying to have a 9 o'clock meeting on Monday is
Could we do it?
tough, so.
Would it be any easier to have it Monday afternoon just this one time, or is Mondays just completely,
What is the 13th?
it's a Wednesday?
Yeah,
Does the 13th work?
We could,
Would
do
it-
we could do the 15th, we'd have to shift one meeting.
And
It's a
What,
department head meeting, you can shift it to the afternoon.
what about the 14th?
The 14th, I can do 9 AM.
I'm good at.
There's the RCCTC meeting 9 AM as well.
On the 14th?
Yep.
So it's looking like the 13th.
Okay, I will turn around and send it out for May 13th.
Okay.
Same time, by 900.
everybody stay upbeat. We're gonna get through this and we're gonna get it.
It was fun.
Seems like we just sit here and spin our wheels sometimes, but we gotta do it right.
Yeah.
The first time.
We don't need a motion to adjourn. We're adjourned.